definitely on fire for the Lord. He's a former Western Carolina student athlete who earned a dual bachelor degree in business administration back in 2010. And then today he's certified in physical therapy and is a motivational speaker to young men and women who aspire to create phenomenal lives for themselves. He has a passion for assisting people in attaining both a healthy body and a healthy mindset geared for success led by God. He is the author of the book Live, Learn, and Lead Powerfully, which is in the back, which has successfully made Amazon's #1 new release in teen and young adult category. So, Chaz, we want to welcome you today. Come on.
Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah? Thank you guys so much, Pastor Keith, Midway family. Thank you for giving me this platform. Me and my family are so humble and so praiseful to have this moment with each and every one of you. And I think Sister Jane, is that correct? Jerry, my lady that just sung, or actually said a specific ordeal before she sung this song. She said everything is in order. This is not a coincidence that we're all here right now.
Amen. Amen.
God has designed everything for a reason. Every circumstance, every situation has led us here. Amen. Scripture says many plans are in a man's heart, but the counsel of the Lord will prevail. So this is supposed to be this moment. This moment. It's beautiful. God's moving today. Amen. And I want to start out by asking for volunteers to come up right here.
Go ahead, Big Mike.
Volunteer. Everybody move at once. Give Mike a hand. Good to see you, bro.
Put his mic on. Look here, Mike.
Can you not? I thought I had it on.
That green light on?
Yep.
Okay, green light's on.
But can you guys hear me okay though?
6.
Yeah.
We're good? All right, Mike, go sit back down, man. That's a $10 gift card to Chick-fil-A.
Oh.
All right? That's God's chicken right there, man. Right? You might gotta wait till tomorrow, man, but love Chick-fil-A. But why not just do that example? It opened up a question that I want you guys to take a couple seconds to kind of dwell on. Whenever I asked for a volunteer, what kept you from coming up here? Take a moment and think about that.
When you get old, you get scared.
Okay, it brings me to my first example. Okay, fear, right? We have a belief system, and whenever I propose that question to you, it challenges your belief system, right? Another reason could possibly be the obstacle, right? Some people are sitting in the middle. Took a little bit extra time just to ask somebody, excuse me, to come up here. Or maybe your knees back, something's bothering you this morning. Or it could be the fact there's just lack of motivation, right? You're just like, man, Chaz, I'm here. Okay, I just want to sit here and I want to listen to what you guys say. I ain't trying to come up, right? But the whole point of that whole little scenario at the beginning is everything begins with a thought. This building began with a thought. The clothes that you're wearing begin with a thought. The seat that you're sitting in begin with a thought. Which brings me into a message that I want to, this kind of make it as our foundation of this speech, because sometimes I can go on a little squirrel chase. Somebody do like this and reel me back in, and I kind of get carried away. But I do want to lay just the foundation of what I want to share with you guys. I want to ask you a favor. Help me change the world. Help me change the world by painting a perfect picture in Jesus Christ. I said it again. Help me change the world by painting a perfect picture in Jesus Christ. Now, when I say the world, I'm not necessarily talking about humanity. I'm talking about your own individual world. Your own beliefs, feelings, opinions about things. Because I know A lot of us have different occupations. I know for myself, I'm in the healthcare field. Some of us out here might be in it. Some of us may be in construction or in the food industry. But there's one occupation that each and every one of us share, and that's the artist. Each and every one of us is so unique. Scripture says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Amen.
You know, out of 7 billion people, nobody has your fingerprint. You was designed uniquely.
Oh, amen.
Let's back that message up with scripture in the book of Romans, chapter 12, specifically verses 1 and 2. Excuse me. It says, I urge you, brothers, when Apostle Paul was talking, I urge you, brothers, in the view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Verse 2 says, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, going back to those thoughts earlier. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is. His good, pleasing, and perfect will. Out of those verses, 2 points. Offer your bodies as living sacrifices. And the renewing of your mind, going back to my message. Paint that perfect picture. There we go, amen. Y'all hear me? Whoa, there we go. Paint that perfect picture. Each and every one of us have a paintbrush. Individual paintbrush. Did God give us free will to paint our own picture, right? He said that in the first book, in Genesis. You have dominion over your own world. 1 Corinthians says, everything is lawful to me, but not everything is profitable.
Amen.
Meaning, you can do whatever you want to do. But today I want to share with you why I decided to paint my picture, but allow Jesus Christ to grab my hand and assist me with painting my perfect picture. Because it does become perfect after that, because as our pastor at Biltmore Church, Bruce Frank, always is, and I love it, he says, because Jesus lived the life that we were supposed to live. And he died a death that we were supposed to die.
Amen.
And he rose on the 3rd day to give us authentic access to the kingdom of God right now and in the afterlife in heaven. Can I get a round of applause for that? Which brings me to this. We perform at the level of our beliefs, not the level of our potential. We perform at the level of our beliefs, not the level of our potential.
Amen.
You can take a 12th grade senior basketball player. Let's imagine this kid is 6'10", 280 pounds. He has so much potential, right? I mean, you look at this kid, he's in high school at this size, he's going to grow more, right? He has so much potential, but if he believes he cannot dribble a basketball, or for some reason he believes that he can't play in the paint, he can't dunk, he can't shoot a free throw, he can't be a team player, then it doesn't matter how much potential he has, because his beliefs will always make him fall short. Dr. Miles Monroe, God rest his soul, he says our gifts and talents is supported in the container of character.
Amen.
You take this bottle here. Let's say that this bottle was a human and the water inside of it was the potential. A limited vocabulary creates a limited vision of yourself and your environment. If I drop in this bottle poison, it's no longer water, right? It's poison. Kill you. Too often on my personal journey, before I met Christ, I would drop poison in my potential. I would drop fear. I would drop doubt. I would drop complacency. I would drop ignorance. Excuse me. I would drop a dull lifestyle, a just getting by lifestyle. I would allow other people to influence me. I would drop lack of self-discipline. And all of this limited vocabulary was a destruction to my overall potential. Does that make sense? Which draws me back to the age of around 5 or 6 years old. I was the daredevil in my neighborhood. Zuri scares me after that because I see a lot of me and her. I mean, she's just all over the place. I mean, I was the kid to jump off the couch. You know, I'm going to the biggest tree at 6 years old trying to jump out of this tree. I'm jumping out of swings. All the neighborhood kids like, I bet Chaz would do it. And then one particular day, they bet Chaz would do it. I remember, it's crazy, I was so young, but I remember like it was yesterday. My mother specifically told me not to go out the front porch. She said, Chaz, I really don't want you to go outside, but you keep getting on my nerves, and I want to take a shower. You can go out on the front porch and sit with your younger brother Thomas, but don't leave that front porch. I said, okay, Mom, okay, I ain't gonna leave. Then I see my buddies outside. They're like, come here, Chaz. Well, Mama said this flew right out. I mean, I went blank on that, so I came there. They said, I bet you that you would not go at the top of this hill here, by the stop sign, turn around on this toy white scooter, ride down, jump off the hill, and land safely. I said, bet, I'll take that bet. I can do it. I can do it. You scared to do it? I bet you I can do it. So I went up the top of that hill. This scooter is way bigger than me, but for some reason I'm right here. And I remember going down, wind in my hair. I said, I'm gonna make this land. So I was going down this hill, and the hill was to the right. The hill that I was supposed to jump off and land perfectly. And as I started going to my right and I took off, I remember hitting air. And at that age, I didn't know about gravity. That was one thing I didn't know about. And here I am, up on this scooter, and here I go. Landed in glass and gravel. Right on my face. But me, I thought I was a tough kid, so I just jumped up, I dusted off. I turned around, everybody looked at me and just started scattering like roaches. I'm like, what's going on? Why everybody running away? I noticed my eye was irritating me a little bit, so I started walking back up. At the time, we stayed in the trailer park. Me and my mother, stepfather, and my brother Thomas that I mentioned earlier. And as I walked back up on that porch, my brother Thomas said, ew. I was like, man, what's wrong with you? And then I walked on in, and my mother, she had just got out of the shower. And then she literally just about passed out. And my stepdad just ran and grabbed me and said, sit down, Chaz. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, man, what's wrong with all y'all, man? I'm good. And then all of a sudden, I started seeing blood run down my stepdad's face, or his arms, I'm sorry. And then I got scared. He was like, Mom, call 911. And at this particular time, my life was changed forever. Because during that particular time, my old head is split open. My stepdad said at a point that he felt like he could see part of my skull. And I had got glass in the side of this left eye here. Which kind of fast forward in the story to my mother being in the doctor's office. We grew up on government assisted living. She didn't have any commercial insurance. The doctor was like, look, the surgery that this kid needs to save his eye, your Medicaid's not going to pay for it. So we're going to have to remove this eye. I was stitched up over 100 stitches. My mother didn't have it. And to this day, I thank the Lord for it. Because I mean, she blessed everybody. I say, you ain't taking my baby's eye out. You're not taking his eye out. She fought for me. Around this time, I didn't know my biological father that well. I maybe seen him like once or twice, but we didn't have a relationship. And my mother thought of everything she could, and because they didn't have a great relationship, she was the last on her mind to call, but she didn't make that call. By the grace of God, I'm glad she made that call because he had commercial insurance from his job. And as soon as he showed them that Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance card, they flew a guy in from California to take that glass out of my eye.
Amen.
So thank Jesus for that for me. Even though I didn't have a relationship at that time, throughout my testimony days, it's going to be a lot of times where God just show up and show out. So they took it out. My eye was saved. But as you can see, I still carry the scar to this day. And I don't know if you can remember back to kindergarten, first grade. The kids are mean, right? Kids don't really, they don't really get it at that age. They just see stuff and they react, So I remember me going back to school and everybody like, ew, what's going on with your head, man? Scarface, everything you can think of. Well, me as a kid myself, I'm taking all this in and I'm just like, man, I really do have this big scar on my forehead. It really is hard to look in the mirror. It really is hard to go to school. You get picked on every day. Remember there was times I came home and I just cried myself to sleep because I didn't want to get up the next morning because of kids being mean. So then, started fighting. Started trying to defend myself, but had limited vocabulary. I started developing lack of self-love. By the age of 7, my mother started struggling more with drugs and alcohol. This was a big impact in my environment, drugs and alcohol. My mother and my stepfather struggled with it. I can remember my mother counting out 100 pennies for me to go to school and get ice cream on Friday so I wouldn't be left out. I remember at the age of 7, watching my mother and stepfather argue every weekend. Then there was a moment where she got talked into going to rehab, which was a blessing. But during that blessing of her getting into that rehab, I became homeless at that time. Because me actually having a stepfather that would normally in society would take me on, I can remember as plain as day as my grandmother coming to pick me up at 7 years old telling me that she received a phone call from my stepfather saying, I can take care of my 2 kids. By this time, my little baby sister was born. But I don't know what you're going to do with Chaz. Can you take him? He's not mine. So you kind of get this picture going of every day being ridiculed at school, and then you come home and you're not even. I can remember, like it was yesterday, 7, 8 years old, my grandmother picking me up from the house. She said, come on, baby. You got your clothes. I had on a t-shirt and some shorts. I didn't even have no shoes on my feet. I ain't had no shoes. She said, come on, baby. I remember she took me to the shoe show in Rutherford County. Forest City, North Carolina to be exact. At Tri-City Mall at shoe show. That's where she took me to get my first pair of felines. And I rocked them things, man. I got some shoes now. She was a blessing, my grandmother. But even in this home, I wasn't really welcome. So my grandma had a boyfriend. that was against me coming. I can remember nights of them fighting because he didn't want me there. We stayed in a one-bedroom trailer. Me and my cousin shared the bed. My grandmother slept on the couch and he slept on the floor. And when I look back, I'm like, the man did have to give up the bed. But me as this 8 or 9-year-old kid at the time don't really understand it. All I see is this guy telling me to get out. Now around this time as well, my biological father began to see what my mother was going through. So he tried to come in, which was a blessing. But I can remember the first time I went to his house to meet my other 2 brothers, which was older. I remember walking into the house and walking forward to meet them for the first time. They were sitting in a dark room on twin beds. One here, one here. And they just looked up at me. Didn't really say much. And then I made a 180 and I looked straight this way. And I seen my stepmother. She took 2 glances at me and she walked and closed the door. So all my hope of having this family that cares about me was thrown out the door there. Normally they say 3's a charm, right? Not in this case. I'll tell you, more limited vocabulary, full of a bunch of potential, but the environment that I was in at the time didn't allow me to see the greatness that God created me to be. So I started blending in with my environment. I had in my heart nobody really loved me. So I started testing drugs and alcohol at a very young age. 13 years old to be exact. Doing pills. I even found myself getting in trouble with the law at the age of 14. First time behind bars. For bad behavior. Moving up to 15, I met a coach. His name was Brad Cosby at East Rutherford High School. I met a coach. He truly believed that my child would play football. The man would come in early, stay late. And it wasn't like he was just picking me out of the crowd. I mean, that's how he was. That was his passion. I talk about him in my book, Live, Learn, Lead, Powerful. And that's something that I wasn't really used to. I wasn't really used to that at that time. He said, Chaz, when do you want to play college football? I said, college football? He said, where do you want to go play? This could be an opportunity to get out of this small town. So at the time, you know, my grades, it was mediocre, but it wasn't good enough to get me an academic scholarship. I said, Clemson University, down in Death Valley. I don't know if you ever watched them jumping off that hill. That was just something that this was magnifying to me. So I'm going to go to Death, I'm going to Clemson. He was like, well, they don't recruit around here a ton, but we can try to make something happen. I'm going to help you do that. I'm going to help you get close to that. And that restored some hope in me. Because I didn't have a talent. I remember it. One Saturday morning, Clemson actually invited me to one of their football camps. Because my family, they really couldn't afford to take me. He took it upon himself on a weekend where he had off, and he drove me down there. One of the most proudest moments I ever had. And I remember going to that camp, man. I gave it all I had, man. I was just out there. I'm sweating. Went through 2-3 shirts. I'm like, man, hey, this is where I'm coming. And I met Western Carolina's football coach down there. And I already had my mind set on Clemson. That's where I was going. Now, there was a couple of schools looking at me, but that's where I wanted to go. This was after my junior year. And this Western coach, he said, if anything happened and you don't come here, there's going to be a place for you at Western. I was like, where is that at anyway? I never heard it. He said, Colorway, North Carolina. I said, Colorway?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know Colorway. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm coming right here, man. Well, going to my senior year. Senior year in high school. Third game of the season. I got a halfback toss to the right side. I played running back, linebacker, receiver. I mean, it was a two-way school. I mean, I was everywhere. We would score a touchdown and have to run down on kickoff. Just show you how small our team was. We had about 30, 35 players. I was going around the corner on the right side, and I remember progressing up the field and getting caught in a pile. And a guy fell on my left leg in the wrong direction. Fractured my lower leg. Third game of the season. It was devastating. This is all me and Coach talked about, me going to play football. Now, I know my grades wasn't good. Now I'm just going to be stuck in this environment. The only hope that I had, I thought I lost it all right then and there. So then I met a physical therapist. His name was Brandon. Second person gave me hope. He said, Chaz, look, you got a hairline fracture. We can't really do any land therapy, but we can do aquatics. We can do pool therapy. That'll be easier on your joints. And we can try to get you back before the end of the season. We can get you ready for the playoffs. I'm like, really? You think you can do that? If you do everything I tell you to do, Chaz, we'll get you back. I was like, all right, let's get in the water. I wasn't a big swimmer at the time, but I said, man, whatever will get me back on the field. So I got in there, he installed willpower back into me, and he got me back. I remember having this big air cast on my leg, and I was able to get back by the end of the season. And at this point, all the schools that was really looking at me already backed out because I missed most of the season. But come January signing day, started losing hope a little bit, but then I get a call. Jackson? This is Coach Rule from Western Carolina University. How you doing? I said, man, Coach Rule, what's going on, man? You want to come up for a visit? And then I went up there, and that's where I ended up, on a full scholarship at Western Carolina University. But I like to think, if it wasn't for that football coach caring enough to get me there, I would have never made it there. Give God a applause for that. That just warmed my soul to even think about that again, because that was another time where God just showed up. He just showed up and showed out. He showed up and showed out. And I got to Western. But again, there was good things or bad things building up to this time that happened in my life, but I never dealt with that limited vocabulary. I never dealt with it. So it would show up at times. And I remember going to Western, I ended up drinking even more. I ended up partying even more. The little bit of self-discipline that I did have, it was being tainted. Because I didn't have an authentic belief about who I was. I didn't truly have the self-love that it took to make it beyond where I was at. If that makes sense. So I found myself drinking, and then I ended up getting in trouble at Western. Drinking and driving. Leaving for a bar at Western, or downtown Silver, actually. So I found myself behind the bars again. Came back out, it was just overnight. Not even a month after that, got another one on campus. leaving the party, drinking and driving. So I just kept following back and following forward, following back and following forward. Not really having a ton of structure in my life at that time. Fast forward and moving to Asheville. And in between that time, I had met my wife, Amy, at Western. And she was going through all that with me. I met her in '06. And our relationship was rocky. We moved down here to Asheville in 2010. Actually, right out the street from here, in Jones Cove. An apartment. And I remember, didn't have a license when I got here, trying to come back out of the storm. But again, I never dealt with the limited vocabulary. So I found myself taking 2 steps forward, taking 4 back. And then there was one Friday, I was 24, ready to turn 25 that following Monday. And Amy planned me a birthday trip. We was going to Vegas for the first time. I was excited about that. And we was going to get ready to leave that afternoon, or no, I'm sorry, that Saturday. And I worked 3rd shift this time. I worked 3rd shift, and I remember waking up a little earlier, around about 12 or 1 o'clock. I said, Amy. She didn't answer me. We had upstairs, downstairs. I walked downstairs. I seen the keys to her car was still there, but she was gone. And then I looked at my phone. She said, you know, she was going out to get her nails painted for the trip. I was like, cool. But then I started, I had an urge to drink. I had an urge to drink. So again, at this time, I didn't have a car, didn't have a license. Was working. Amy was assisting me with trying to get back to work, back and forth. I kind of targeted my time from being down here at Chaz Cove, going to this ABC store. You go back up here and make a left. You know what the ABC store is on the right? Down here on Turner Road. I said, man, it'll take me equivalent 7 minutes to get in the car, drive up there, pay for it, depending on how long the line is, and I can make it back. So I did it. I went. I was a big cognac drinker then, so I got some Hennessy, and I came back. I remember just hanging out playing some video game, but then my bottle got empty. I said, I want something else to drink. Now I played the rationale in my head again. Man, I can make it. I can make it there. 7 minutes. It'll be cool. So I got back in her car. I drove, got the same amount of alcohol, and I drove back home. I remember popping the seal, started drinking. But then it goes blank to the point that I was sitting on that couch, and then I was behind the wheel of her Honda coming back down this road, and I was head on, waking up out of a panic, about to hit a car. And I remember missing the car by inches, wheeling it to the right. And I ran into the gate of St. Luke's Episcopal. Isn't this like St. Luke's right there, right? I ran into the gate. I don't know if you remember, they used to have a wooden gate right there. I ran into that gate. I ran into the gate of a church. And I remember getting out of the car. Now, to this day, I don't know why I just didn't take off running. Because I already had charges. I knew, at this point, I've been to jail again because of drinking and driving. I knew if I got caught, I would go back to jail again. But there was something that was keeping me there to try to pull this car. Knowing I wasn't going to pull this car out of no ditch by myself. But I was sitting there trying to pull this vehicle out, and all of a sudden the police showed up and arrested me. So now I'm back locked up. By this point, Amy, she's about ready to just go on. She's been through this so many years. Ended up losing my job. And I remember sitting in the lawyer's office downtown Asheville. We started talking. It was, it was pretty much like, man, look, we got, this is getting crazy. You're going to have to do jail time again. If you get another one of these, you're going to get a felony charge. And I was listening to him. I remember we was getting to wrap up. I had to go to the bathroom. And then I came back out of the bathroom and walked back to his office, and Amy came out and said that, we're finishing up. And then she stopped and looked at me and she said, I can't believe him. I was like, what? He's like, he just told me that I should leave you. God, I thought it was offending me, but apparently not, right? It was against me. He said, Amy told me that he said he's never seen anyone not do it again having as many repetitive charges that I've had. That I was going to spend probably the rest of my life in jail, or I'm going to end up killing somebody or killing myself. That's what he told me. And it was at that moment, something clicked and was like, who is this guy? How is he going to predict my life? Maybe there's something that I do need to fix here. So at this point, fast forwarding, we decided to go to a rehabilitation program, 42 days. I was at Swain Recovery down in Black Mountain. Didn't truly want to be there, man. I didn't. Endless moments in my head that I was like, man, I'm just going to go home, man. There was one night, my roommate was asleep, we shared beds, twin beds. I was on the left side where the window was, similar to this one here. It had the same sheet, the same blinds as well. I remember looking out at this light pole. And I got this over-urge of a thought. And I had that same little conversation like, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm meant to be something greater. And building up to this time, I had been in and out of church. I can remember me being kind of baptized when I was at South Mountain Christian Camp. In my teenage years, I can remember every once in a while going and not going, mainly on like Easter. But I truly believe, authentically in my heart, that was the first intimate conversation that I had with God. And I just remember this thought coming over me like, let me be in charge. Let me be in charge. Let's work things out here. It's time, Chaz. It's time. And to this day, I say that was my authentic acceptance of Jesus Christ. And then I woke up that next morning. It was like it was a whole different mindset. I started participating in the conversations. Because up to this point, I wasn't. I started going to the counselor's office like, look, let's get a game plan going. Let's get some stuff laid out. And I remember at the end of that session, or the rehabilitation, we was in a circle. Everyone was sitting around, all the graduates. And I remember telling them things about the limited vocabulary, but it was like I had a book bag full of bricks that was just weighing me down as I was walking. And it was like I passed one to each and every one of those people there. Because that was the one thing that I never really done was conversate about anything. I always kept everything locked inside of me. And that was the first authentic time that I turned things over to a power greater than myself. And then it's been all uphill since then. I got out. Amy still hasn't left me in many. God, man, just give that woman a round of applause. Even going back, I remember, man, I was drunk one night. And I remember just asking her, just kind of going back to another story. I was like, why are you still with me? And she said something to me that I'll never forget. She said, I see something in you that you don't see in yourself.
Amen. It's all right. Amen.
And to this day, that woman has my heart. She has it. Going back to all those times where I never felt love, I truly felt loved by this woman. And that's why that's an unwavering relationship. Even though we know there's going to be storms and tribulations, I know we can get through it. Because we got through so much other stuff. So I found myself going back to school. Me and Amy got married. We had 2 beautiful girls. God laid it on my heart to begin to share how great He is, in which I kind of ran from that for a while because again, I wasn't the biggest talker in the world. I spent my whole life pretty much just kind of being in my own little corner, and I still had those tendencies at times. But it was like an overwhelming. It was like when you find the truth, you gotta squeal. You got to. When you find something so pure, even though a huge chunk of my life, I never felt authentically loved by my environment. I know again, as I continue to allow Jesus Christ to guide my paintbrush, as I'm painting my reality, that love will never fail. It will never fail. It will never fail. It will never fail.